All right, so now we're going to put a bit of detail on the model of the rower where we have placed this basic geometry that defines the head. We're going to work with what we've got and go in and cut it up using our edge loop tool and our smart toolkit and of course the polygon extrude tool. So these are the variations, the steps that we'll kind of cover as we go through the modeling the nose and the mouth eye socket through to the ear. All right, so I'm going to go down and I'm going to work on 1/2 of the model to do this. And I'm probably going to want to add more polygons to the face to add some definition to it without affecting the geometry of the body. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose face, and I'm going to select the polygons that define the neck and half head. I'm going to hold down the space bar, I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to choose extract. And what I essentially did was I separated it out from the original body. So I'll go and I'll select object, and I'll center my pivot. And now I can work on this without changing the polygon count or structure of the body. All right, so I'm going to start by adding a few more lines parallel to what already exists. So I'm going to use the edge loop where I can, and if I have some gaps, I'll use the smart multi-cut tool over here. All right, so I'll go ahead and get the edge loop, and I'm going to drop one where I might think the middle of the eyes would go, and then I'll click and drag where I think the mouth would go. And then I'm going to start to add a couple more lines on either side of this, which allow me to define the chin and under the nose a bit. Okay, so I think what I'll probably do now is I'm going to add one more here, and then I'm going to move this edge up a little bit higher for the bridge of the nose. Double click here, move that. I'm trying to keep all these equidistant so that my polygons will be easy to texture map when I get to that point. All right, so I need a little bit more on the front of the face as well. So once again, I'm going to get the edge loop and I'm going to click and drop a line right there. Now, if we take a look at the reference models here, I'll grab this one in particular. Put that here so we've got it for reference. You can see that I've gone in and I've started to cut these concentric lines at the bottom of the mouth here to define the shape of the mouth ultimately. And you'll see almost a repetition of what's going on up here in the eye socket. So we're going to start to rough those in right now. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to decide where I think the nose should be when it comes out at the bottom where the nostrils would be. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to edge, and I'm going to double click on this edge. I'm going to bring it down a little low because this is going to be where the bottom of the nose would be. And now I'm going to start to cut those concentric circles. So to do that, I'm going to use the multi-cut tool. So if you don't see the multi-cut tool on the right, there's two things you can do. You can go to your dock if you have it there and click on the SMT. Or you can click in the upper right-hand corner, the fourth icon from the right, the very last one, will also give you that smart tool cluster down at the bottom there. So I'm going to click on multi-cut. And then I'm going to scroll down till I see the snap. And the snap by default is set pretty high. So I'm going to take it and bring it down as low as I can, which is 1%. And now I'm going to start to cut where I want the mouth to be. So I'm going to start with roughly where I think maybe the top and bottom lip would kind of be defined. So I'll go in here, and I guess I'll go about here, and there, and so on. So I'm going to go and I'm going to cut a few more of these and I'll return and we'll work with those edges to start defining features. All right, so I've gone in and I've started to define where I want the front of the face to be. You can see here are my lip lines. So I'm going to start editing those. I'm going to start pulling them out to give it some three-dimensional quality. All right, so I'll get my move tool and I'm going to zoom in on here. I'm just going to move the right hand side away here so I can work a little bit more freely. I'm going to start to get some of these edges, and I'm going to start to pull them out to kind of define where I think the lips should start to pucker out like so. And then usually down here there's some area where the chin would start to be defined, and that would go back in the other way. And then I'm going to start to put some geometry in for the nose. So I'm going to right click and I'll choose face. I'll select these two polygons, these two faces, and I'll go up and I'm going to click on my extrude tool and I'll pull those surfaces out like so. And at this point I may start to turn this to define the nose a bit more. I'm going to go to vertex and I'm going to pull this down like so. Now this is out pretty far, so maybe I'll start to move this. Now this is where you'll want to use your proxy key function 3 to get a better idea of what this will look like when we actually run the smooth. This might be preferable to do, even though we might be keeping the rest of the body and model at a low poly count. But again, this is really up to the whatever the purpose might be for this particular model. So I'm going to hit 1. And I'm going to deal with the top of the head. Now the head is kind of sloping here, so I would like to move this path up. I'm going to double click on this edge, and I'll move that up a little higher like so. And I think I'll scale it this way a bit. There we go. And that's going to allow me to drop another line in up there. So I think I'll probably get my edge loop and I'll click and run a line like so. Okay, that's pretty good. And I think at this point I probably want to pull that down a bit. And I'm probably going to get the edge now, and I'll start to pull out where that brow might be. Kind of like so. And again, I'm going to hit 3 on the keyboard, and you can see now that how quickly a little bit of work is going to give you the makings or the start of a face. Now again, I've only been working in one dimension, so I would have to really, once I drop in this rough geometry, there's a lot of work around the whole model to get the shape that I might want. So I'm going to go back to 1. There's one other thing I want to point out here before I terminate this and go back, add some more detail and return. But you'll notice that when you start to extrude the nose, the geometry is filled in on the inside edge where we have to put our model back together. So I'm going to right click, I'll choose face, and I'm going to delete those out. All right, so now if I hit 3, you can see there's the edge, and that gives you a better idea of what's going on with your model as far as the width and would be. I'm just going to try and keep these polys against my open edge as I work. You know, as you do this, you'll have ones that go outside that, but you just want to be aware of keeping that as close as you can to that y-axis while you're working. So I'm just going to work here on the cheek a bit. I'm going to pull this vertex out where the nose is, like so. All right. Now I'm going to run one more concentric kind of a path here because I'm already kind of thinking about where the nostril will be. So once again, I'll go to my multi-cut and I'll click here, click there, click here, and I'm just kind of placing these in an organized fashion. And very important that these intersections down in these particular places here will kind of converge where there's going to be curves going around the side of the head. And then I'll come down to this, and I'll hit return and save. And I'm already thinking about what I want to do with the neck here. There's definitely, I need more geometry so I can work on the bottom of the throat. So what I'll do is I'll get my edge loop tool and I'll click. And often enough, it doesn't really give you what you want. So in this case, it did go around, but I don't want this coming up across. I want it to join this one. So I'm going to go to my edges. I'll select and shift select the one, double clicking to get rid of the one I don't want. Let's see what we got here. There we go. I'm going to go to Mesh Tools, and I'm going to put the Merge Vertex tool on. This is really handy because it allows me to click on a vertex and then hold my left mouse down and cross over the one I'd like to join it to, and it automatically binds that together. Now I've got to do a little cleanup here. These jagged lines aren't the best thing as far as the future of our texture mapping. So I'm going to go into the side view, and I'm going to take a moment to clean those up before I return.